Tim Waltz is making a comeback, and he is a powerhouse. We've heard from Tim Waltz that he can kick our... Hey, see, you don't have to blank that because I blanked that on my own. All mega, he can kick our... He's announced that he knows we're afraid of him because he can change the oil in a truck. Remember that video where he magically changed the oil in a truck without getting his hands dirty? I know guys who've been mechanics for 15 years, 20, 30 years. I know guys who own garages, multiple garages around the country, and they've told me they've never once succeeded in doing that without getting any oil on themselves. He's a genius, and people are afraid of him. He has a new theory on diversity. So I wanted to imagine Tim Waltz's view of diversity versus that of Jesus Christ. I mean, we already know who's right, Jesus. But let's look at the difference in how they define this. Here's Mr. Waltz making his political comeback.
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DEI, and we let them define what woke is. We got ourselves in this mess because we weren't bold enough to stand up and say, you damn right we're proud of these policies. We're going to put them in, and we're going to execute them. And so...
No one is against the word diversity. No one is against the word equity. No one is against the word inclusion. What people are against are what you've determined that means. So like we can do with all things, let's check all spirits. Let's take some thoughts captive. Let's look at biblical views of this, and let's let God's wisdom supplant our own, because fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So I'll show you how I did this comparison in 1 second. God also designed our bodies. He designed us to have access to whole foods at all times. In fact, that's how we were designed to eat. Designed to pick things off trees and out of the ground and wash them to the best that we can. But incidentally, you're actually designed to have a little bit of dirt in your system. Did you know that? A little bit of minerals in your system, or a lot of them. We don't do that anymore. Part of it is over cleaning food. I know that seems weird, but it's true. Part of it is processed foods. So we've ended up in some pretty tenuous circumstances like this. 80% of Americans are short on full spectrum magnesium. There's not just one sort of magnesium. Bioptimizers has all forms of magnesium. And we've learned through a study that it appears that shortages in magnesium leave an open doorway to your DNA. That sounds bad. I don't want an open doorway to my DNA. Do you? So you go to bioptimizers.com/Todd, use promo code Todd to get 10% off Magnesium Breakthrough, which will help you close that doorway. Oh, and by the way, while you're there, subscribe. Get 10% off all their products, exclusive discounts, and exclusive gifts. Bioptimizers.com/Todd, promo code Todd. Look at the apostles, the original 12 apostles. Find for me here the person who was eminently qualified from a perspective of accomplishment. Simon Peter, fisherman from Bethesda. Andrew, also a fisherman. James, a fisherman. John, a fisherman. Philip, unspecified in his occupation. Greek name hints at possible exposure to Hellenistic culture. Bartholomew, called Nathaniel later, possibly from Canaan. Background's unclear. Traditionally says he might have been a higher social standing due to education and initial skepticism. Thomas, known as Doubting Thomas. His occupation isn't detailed, but his nickname, twin in Arabic and Greek, suggests a personal trait over trade. Matthew, Levi, a tax collector from Capernaum. Hated, by the way, literate and familiar with Roman administration, and hated until he converted. Which of these were the high achievers? Who was put in charge? Who among them would be the first in heaven? I mean, they had that argument. Jesus heard them having the argument. Well, who's going to sit to his left and right? In fact, one of their mothers made the argument to Jesus, it should be my sons. How did Jesus view diversity? He viewed it this way. Look, guys, you're all the same. You're all broken. You all need me. And then in terms of equity, how did Jesus view it? To be first, you must be last. And then he demonstrated it. Equity? The Lord of the living universe, the living God, washed the feet of these men. And Peter, The fisherman said, no, Lord, I'll not have you wash my feet. And Jesus said, then you can have no part of me. And Peter said, then wash my whole body. And it was Peter who became the leader of the early church. Why? Because he was the first to confess Jesus as Messiah. That same Jesus who equity-like washed his feet. Now, shouldn't some other people be in this list? I mean, inclusion, right? I mean, there were people who believed in Jesus. Why didn't they get to be apostles? They believed in him. Well, what about that rich young ruler? I mean, he clearly knew that Jesus had the keys to the kingdom. He asked. He believed. He didn't do what Jesus challenged him to do. He had an idol. His idol was his money. He wouldn't give it up. He wouldn't give it over to the poor to follow Jesus. Well, did these guys? Sure. Matthew gave up a successful background. I mean, he was collecting taxes, rich and comfortable. The fisherman had a business, probably a family business that defined them. And incidentally, sons were the social security of the time for their moms and usually their dads. There was no social safety net. They gave that up. So some people weren't included because inclusion isn't always the goal. Then think some more about this in terms of this argument for diversity. Let's go upstream of Jesus coming to earth as fully God and fully human. Let's go way upstream and let's go to Genesis, when the Lord decided to create humankind. Now, I believe that we're all human, which is banal and stupid and silly, and yet you have to say it these days because so many people have taken an idol of race and used it as a way to divide us. But you can go to Grok, and that's what I did. I just asked Grok to create a listing, a breakout of known so-called racial groups. You have your Caucasoid, European, West Eurasian, Nordic, Alpine, Mediterranean, Mongoloid, East Eurasian, Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, Negroid, Sub-Saharan Africa associated with Africans of the South. You have the Australioid, Australians, Aboriginal related, Amerindian, also known as Indigenous American. And you can break these all out into characteristics and skin colors and cheekbone heights. And then you can go right back up to the very beginning of this. And God said it was good. It's not good that man is alone, so God created women. And then you can go back to Jesus Christ. Once people make it into the family of Christ, are grafted into his family, does he go and look and say, you know what, I want the Australioids to stand over here. I want the Amerindians to stand over here. I want the Negroid people to stand over here, the Mongoloids to stand over here. Nope. If you believe Jesus' words, he doesn't see any of that. There's neither Greek nor Jew. Not in the body of Christ. Because we've all come into one body with some natural talents God gave us. Some of us are hands, some of us are hearts, some of us are eyes. Some of us are simply feet that do the walking to get the body parts there, as the Apostle Paul taught. So Tim Waltz's view of diversity is it's a division tactic. It's color and equity. It's about taking from some by force and giving to others through placation, telling them you're too weak to go earn on your own. God didn't give you the talent to do that. You need a guy like me, Tim Waltz, to do this. And inclusion of what? Everything he agrees with. Now, Jesus did not go around the world and force people to agree with him. That's not how he operates. He invited them to see the truth. So what is the truth? Well, Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one gets to the Father but through him. But that's not exclusion, because everybody can accept the free gift of redemption. Everybody. That's inclusion.